Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops in Detroit Bad Boys. And if you're tuning in here with us live, you already can tell, but our guy Blake, he actually had to, on very short notice, we knew like maybe, an hour ago, right? That Blake actually had to cover some solo dad duty, and it happens. We got it. But again, as you guys can see, we've got our guy Robbie Bettel on again. You know him and have seen him as Bobby Buckets in the DBB comment section, but he's back with us today. We're breaking down all the newest, rumors, news, actual. We should say that with quotation marks, actual NBA basketball. That's actually now happened for the Detroit Pistons. But Robbie, man, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Was happy to. I'm gonna call it actual basketball. I'll define it as that. I was happy to watch some basketball. Granted, it reminded me of when I was coaching in high school, as
Always
it looked like a JV team and against another JV team. But Corey looked good. Was really excited about that, and honestly, I'm looking forward to Sunday's game now. I'm ready for the next one.
Oh, me too. I mean, honestly, I've been in basketball withdrawal since the Pistons have gotten eliminated. I've just been. It's nice that this is coming so quick, because they did last so long into the season. It did feel like Summer League snuck up on us a little bit here, but yeah, I'm thankful it's back. I'm looking forward to Sunday again. I got to say though, you bring up like the high school JV thing. Do you also really miss the Orlando Summer League for that?
Yeah. That was reason? And puppy points. Like I miss puppy points, and I love that it's still a thing in the DBB comments, even during regular season. Like we won the first quarter, we got a puppy point. Like, yeah, I certainly that's like the OG summer league to me is Orlando.
Oh man, yeah, and guys, if you're a little newer of a fan, because I mean, when did that end? Was that like 2016? Maybe it ended.
I was thinking of this the other day. I don't remember but that same thing crossed my mind of like, when did they stop going from Orlando and switch to Las Vegas? Where did the first like teams like Boozer and them were playing earlier? Where was that one at? Because that wasn't Vegas, right?
Oh, could that have been? I know the California Classic's been around for a while. So I mean, that this year, that's what that was. The first little go around was the California Classic thing.
Okay.
And I know that's been going on for a while. Do they still do the Utah one? Utah used to have one out in Salt Lake City.
Maybe. But
they're all still, it's all kind of fallen away. Like, no, it doesn't seem like many people really tune into the early stuff. Now it's all in Vegas. And I don't know, guys, if you are younger, you haven't seen it. It was literally in the Orlando Magic's practice gym. There were no bleachers. It was like just a one-row bleacher setup where it's a bench, right? Where they also set up the media, and there's just no room. It was very much your JV high school gym. If you dove out of bounds, you broke your neck. It was very tight, very constrained. The squeaks of the shoes were just deafening on the broadcast. It was the best. Really low camera angle too. Like you were literally, someone was just sitting in there holding an old tape recorder. It looked like that's what it was. Man, that was my first summer league experience watching that. Oh, it's so fun. That's just pure basketball.
Yeah, it made me think of like my high school in the auxiliary gym. Not even they weren't playing in the main gym. It's like they're playing in an auxiliary gym. And yeah, it's the bleachers that are like two rows up. You sit on the top one, you put your feet down on the other one, and that was all the seating that was in the gym.
And it was just like NBA personnel too, were the only people in attendance. So really, you'd get some funny stuff with the benches because the benches truly had to create all of the energy. There was no spectators. Well, this is a total digression. So we'll step aside. You mentioned Corey had a nice game. I think we just start there. And Robbie, guys, he put out a little kind of mini clip up right of his first summer league game, what we saw from Corey. But why don't you kind of break it down for us? What did you like? Maybe what did you just didn't like? Where does he need to work on? What stood out from Ibuka Corey?
Yeah, at first I got a little bit worried because he wasn't super aggressive in the first quarter, and Phylon was like letting it fly from deep. He was like being super aggressive, and Corey was not. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. We picked the wrong point guard already. You know what I mean? I instantly went doom and gloom, but he picked it up as the game went on. Got to get he was a little bit more aggressive, but I was trying to remember. I feel like in a past summer league, I don't remember if it was Stan Van Gundy or somebody like told a player not to dunk in summer league, to focus on his finishing by not dunking and forcing him to be crafty at the rim or be physical. I think it was KCP. I'm not told. That's I'm pulling that out of my you know what, but I think it's KCP. Do you have any idea?
I mean, was SVG early enough in Drummond's career for that?
The other guess was Sadiq.
I don't think so.
I don't. I think Sadiq.
I think Sadiq was after.
Yeah.
So KCP's a good guess.
But that,
hey, maybe Henry Ellenson, some superstar.
He couldn't dunk. So
no.
So to that point, my reason for bringing that up is like I know that coaches put players in uncomfortable positions or to want them to work on things in summer league that they don't normally do, right?
Bruce Brown.
Was it Bruce
Brown? I bet it was Bruce Brown.
We'll have to do some digging and figure out who it was. But
no, wait, maybe he was Casey. Crap. All right, I just derailed you. I'm sorry.
No, this is a good trip down memory lane of our past rosters. But I think at the beginning of the game, I think they wanted him to do more point guard like things, try to get his teammates involved, try to just, orchestrate the offense instead of, like we know he can drop 20 points. He's done it consistently. Frankly, he's kind of done it 30 points somewhat consistently at Stanford. So we know he can score. So I thought early, like they were just trying to get him doing more point guard-esque things instead of scoring. But once he kind of flipped the switch in the second half, this is like, all right, this guy's pretty good. And I think what was most fascinating to me is he just didn't get sped up at all. Like he was in control the entire time. It looked like the guys that were guarding him were given like max effort, and he had like 3 or 4 drives at the end of the game that he got to the rim and just made it look so easy. So it was nice to see everything that in the scouting report of like, hey, this guy lives in the paint. I feel like I finally got to see it in NBA action where I was like, yeah, he can get into the paint whenever he wants. And in that article that I wrote today, kind of did some cut-ups of how he was scoring in transition at the paint. He had 2 off the dribble threes, which were super impressive. The 2 that he knocked down, like a little sidestep, and then an off the dribble when Broom was in that deep in the paint. And I wish I could have got more passing highlights in that, but I think he had one pass, I want to say in the second half, where he was coming off a screen and he like left-handed whipped it around into the right corner where Isaac Jones had a wide open 3. And I was like, man, imagine Duncan Robinson in the corner, Isaiah Joe in the corner. Like that kind of play is where I'm like, this guy he might already be starting to earn minutes in this year's rotation.
Man, so I'm glad you brought up that pass because that one stood out to me too, because that was something, honestly, at Stanford. Now, I mean, I think I watched 5 Okori games when he was at Stanford. So it's not like I've done like hours and hours and hours of film on the kid, right? But like that was something that did stand out to me. Sometimes it looked like he wasn't making the second read. He was making the first one. Yeah, he's like, probably a 60-40 in favor of making the pass to the first read. In terms of a success rate, and he just kind of went with it, even though the second read would have actually been the far better shot if he had saw it. And with that one there, when he takes that screen, I forget, do you remember who the big was that on Yenso? That was rolling? It might have been.
Yeah, or I think their backup guy was like Jihad or something.
It could have been Jihad, or one of those two, but regardless, it was there. It was open. It wasn't wide open. It would have been a very difficult finish, but he very easily could have just put the little pocket pass down and let the big man take it. But instead, he made a very difficult but correct left-handed whip pass over to the opposite corner and had always mentioned a wide open. Yeah, it was perfect. It was on the money. It's like that's the read where, when you're reading about the strengths and weaknesses of the prospect and you see, okay, he's a great scorer. He's very much a score-first guard, but does he have the playmaking? There's a little bit of question with that. And then you go and you turn on some of the games that he played in college, and you're like, yeah, he's making the easy stuff. He's not making always the right one, but he's making the easy ones, and he's willing, so that's good. but that was the right read. And if he can really start doing some of that, that's really exciting out of a 19-year-old and literally his first summer league NBA action. I mean, if we can remember Cade Cunningham's first summer league game, I don't want to compare these two, but like it's pretty common for guys to struggle right when they show up to Vegas. So yeah, I thought that one really stood out to me.
Wemby's first summer league game, I think he was like 2 of 13 or something, right? So as I'm watching this now, it's like I'm not worried about majority of the roster. I'm not worried about the quality of basketball that we're seeing on the court. What I'm trying to imagine is Okori making these plays with, like, I think he got to the paint and tried doing like a drop off to the big that got like mishandled and it wasn't great. But then I'm thinking, like, what if Duran's there? You know, where he's got better hands, better athletic ability, dropping that off and he goes up and slams it. You know, Isaac Jones missed that corner 3 of that left-handed slingshot he sent over there. But, you know, if it's not Isaac Jones, maybe it's, you know, any of our plus 40% 3-point shooters that this team now has. It's like those are the things that are really getting me excited, is just in those moments when he tries to make the right play, imagining that he just feels like one of those players, especially as a point guard, who when you surround him with better quality guys, that his play will also improve. And I feel like, granted, very small sample size, but after watching this first game, like, I'm feeling more confident in his play. I'm feeling more confident that he may be able to handle minutes right away. And frankly, like, I keep imagining him with, you know, Duran on the floor, with Robinson in the corner. And, you know, I just think that's going to make his game open up so much more as well.
And the one thing too, from, you know, just to add on that I was getting excited about was, you know, you mentioned sometimes these guys struggle, right, when they get into these first games, and he didn't. The lack of struggling wasn't in a way that would have made me nervous either. And I'd say that as like, I was just this much concerned that the Sixers were going to throw some physicality at him and he wouldn't be able to get to the rim like he did at Stanford, because there were some teams that tried to push him around a little bit. He's a smaller guard. There was mild success there. And you figure, okay, you take that mild success with the college athlete, and sure, these aren't truly top tier NBA athletes, but maybe that throws him for a loop. It did not. I thought actually in that first half, he was very reserved in a productive way. It looked like he just wasn't trying to force things. And then when you got into the second half, he just looked comfortable. And I cannot remember the last time I've watched a player that, we'll just call it in a Pistons uniform because it technically counts, that can just flip the defender's hips as easily as he can. Like you mentioned, his speed, he's so fluid with the speed. This is a weird thing to say, but it's a little Ish Smith-like. You remember Ish?
It's a great comparison. Here's a blur. I think that like he had a train. They pressed him full court in the first quarter. It might have been his first bucket or his second bucket. It was his first bucket when they pressed him, and he got to like mid-court, made a little move, and they just couldn't stay with him the entire way, and he got a layup. I think Ish Smith is a great comparison for him, honestly.
And it's a taller Ish Smith. It's a heavier Ish Smith. It's more physical.
Ish Smith that can shoot.
Could maybe shoot a little bit. Yeah. It's just that way that he can get to his spot. And the easy comparison, because he's going to be wearing the same number, would have been like to compare to Jaden Ivey. But the thing with Ivey was he was very much straight line. Like he was so explosive off the catch and turning the corner off of a handoff or in a pick and roll. Okori is legitimately a guy you can get him the ball in an ISO situation. At least it seems like that from his college tape. And now it's translated into this one level step up that he can just go and create an advantage. And the Pistons don't have actually anyone else really on the roster other than maybe a Jalen Duran mid post where he can just get downhill because he can go through most people instead of around. Like they don't have anyone other than K that can do that. So yeah, I was getting pretty excited too, just that little bit translated for him here as well. Like these are still almost NBA caliber players, most of them. Philon's a very good player himself. He's going to be on that roster. And he was just dancing around all of them, getting to his spots. I wish some of the finishes were a little more strategic, but he'll get there with that. It was very, very promising I would say, from the first summer league game.
I would say Ish, and I saw the Dennis Schroeder comparison in the comments. I think that's another good one. I think he's way more Ish than he is Ivy. Like, I feel like everyone sees 23 and just immediately associates him with Ivy, but I agree with you where Ivy is more of just like a downhill guy. And I feel like a Corey or Ish or Dennis are more side to side guys. Like, he split a couple ball screens. He split that a couple of times. His first 3 was split in a ball screen. He had a couple in the getting to the rim in the second half. Like, I don't really see an Ivy because of how like shifty and side to side moving he is. Whereas Ivy was, I think, I mean, obviously he was fast, but straight line fast, and obviously an athlete. Where I don't think a Corey, is getting posters on anybody, but I'm with you. It's just like he's so shifty in his side to side movement. He had a nice little floater that he got fouled on too from the free throw line, where even him showing a little, if I can't get to the rim, even having a little, if he can be a 3-level scorer and, he splits a ball screen and he's got that Cade mid range from 15 feet, that should be an option for him. I'm excited about him, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I think the scoring potential is through the roof. And that floater you mentioned, that was something he did very well at Stanford as well. Had a very good touch on that kind of close range shot, which is great especially for a guy for his size. But another guy that, in my book, firmly in the is he too good for summer league minutes right now conversation. Like, I want to see one more game of this, but if Isaac Jones does what he did in that game against the Sixers. I mean, let me just read this off to you. He had 22 points in 30 minutes. He was 9 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3, which is a big marker for him. He's a guy that you needed him to work on that 3-point shot. 4 rebounds, 2 blocks. I mean, he played great, man. He did.
Had like 3 posters and missed another, right? Like when he got to the rim, he was dunking on somebody. His block on Phylon, where he just like was in the air for so long to pin it off the backboard. I thought that block was sweet. Isaac, here's where I'm like, this is going to be a weird comparison. Here's another throwback to some old Pistons rosters. Kind of reminds me of Tony Mitchell in a way, of like an uber athletic power forward, where I'm like, is he just more athletic than everybody in a summer league gym? But then he gets into an NBA gym and he's just like as athletic as everybody else and doesn't have like a standout skill. He's certainly an athlete. I think I remember during the broadcast, he was like, he shot like 23%, 25% from 3, I think last season with the Crews. So not a great shooter. I think that's like, if he wants to make the jump to the league, I think he's got to raise that by 10% at least. But his athleticism popped yesterday. Like, he was the most athletic guy out there on the court. I guess I'm still questioning, like, does he have all the physical athletic tools that maybe most guys on a summer league roster don't? But he did play great. Led Pistons with 22, right? Is that what you said? He led the team, right? I think Corey had 20.
Corey had 20, and that was the next highest. Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, I've got the same questions with him. I think he's clearly bigger, stronger, quicker than most other fours that he's probably going to see here in the summer league. And that was true in the G League too, for what it was worth. He also averaged 22 and 9 in the G League. But look, if he's going to hit threes like this, and if he's going to be this efficient from the floor, I think he works himself into that same conversation that Danis did last summer league, which is just kind of that middle ground of, look, I don't know for sure that he can sustain strong NBA minutes, but I do know he's not gaining much from being here anymore. Right. And so you kind of have to have that question. But yeah, if that 3-point shot, I think that's the swing. If he's going to keep going, it doesn't have to be 2 for 4, but like 2 for 5, in the next one, and it looks good. And what we'll never know is if he's doing that in practice too, but you'd have to imagine he is, if that's going to be the case. I might just pull him and, let someone else get some minutes, because I know you need good players in Summer League to help out with the Okories and the Chaz Laniers, but man, that guy maybe could play. And I think you don't want to risk it too much. Speaking of Chaz Lanier, not a great showing.
No, it did not help that I didn't think about Chaz throughout the game. You know what I mean? And he's 20. Oh, that is another good one. 24, I think, years old. So he's got 5 years on Okorie, basically. And Okorie is standing out way more than Chaz did. I think Broom is 25. Like, Broom stood out because he's solid big man. Chaz just like
too. I was impressed.
Yeah, I think he had 8 offensive rebounds or something. He was just crashing the boards hard. So I just don't think it's great that Chaz, like, he didn't stand out in one way or the other. Like, I don't remember him much defensively. He knocked down a couple jumpers offensively, but here's where I feel like the path to playing time for Chaz, I think, is on this roster, because if you look at the shooting guards that Trajan likes to acquire, Isaiah Joe, movement shooter, Duncan Robinson, movement shooter, Kevin Huerter. I mean, these guys can all do a little bit more, but also a movement shooter. You know what I mean? Like, Trajan likes that quality, that archetype of a player. So I get why Trajan bought in on him, why he drafted him. But it's like, I want him to shoot it eight times a game. Like, just let it fly, get some shots up. He did knock down a couple, but I think he had a nice floater in the lane, if I remember, early in the first quarter. But this is the first time I've considered him not making the roster this season. Like, after that game was the first time that I've started thinking, like, okay, if they still do they have to cut one if they want to bring Duren back. And if they do make another move and bring somebody on, you got to cut a second person. And then with the amount of guards on my roster, it made me wonder, is Chaz the next man up if Gary Harris would be the first guy waived? So who knows?
And I think that's fair because, I mean, look, I know it's just one game, but he played the most minutes on the team in this first game. He went 4 of 11, which is the third most shots, if I'm reading this all correctly, and only 1 of 6 from 3. Like, I'm with you. His path is off-ball shooter, right? So, honestly, in this kind of summer league environment, if you're playing 32 minutes and you're an NBA caliber off-ball movement shooter, which he needs to prove that he is, that needs to be more like 10 3-point attempts, to your point, right? And you're hoping he's making 5, almost 50%, because the defense just shouldn't be as good. Now, his one make looked really nice. So he had that going for him. It did. It did look good. And maybe this is another. I mean, I was pretty impressed with the Sixers, the way that they came out. They were pressing full court. They were trapping Okorie right out. Yeah, they played some really good defense for a summer league basketball game. I was impressed with them for that. I don't think that can be an excuse here for Lanier, but maybe it explains a little bit. I mean, if you're a shooter, you get bumped too much, you're a little off rhythm. Now it's tougher getting back into the game with that rhythm, right, as you kind of move forward. We'll see how he looks in the next one. But, yeah, I mean, I'd say red flag alert for Chaz Lanier after one game, but a tentative one. I mean, he's still he looks like a talented shooter. He's just got to actually make it happen.
Yellow flag.
Yellow flag. I like that.
A little cautious. Yeah.
Who do you want to hit next? I mean, I guess we should probably you go on Yenso.
Yeah, let's hit on Yenso. I think immediately, like, he's just so raw. Like, you can tell this guy just needs to play. I think the 2-way contract instantly just seems like a great call on his point. I find it kind of hilarious that his first block was on Broom on a corner 3. Wasn't at the rim.
He covered some ground to get there. And he was darn near under the hoop.
It was impressive. I was like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to start off our first NBA block, with a corner 3. He did have that, like, bizarre lob tip in from Okorie on the fast break. And then he had that kind of funky like post hook that he tried to do that just didn't look all that great. But I think you just know what he is, I think, in terms of like, hey, he's here to set a screen and roll hard to the rim. And on defense, he's here to protect the rim. But on both sides, I just think he looked raw. We got out rebounded a ton. I think we were out rebounded by like 15 or something like that. So didn't rebound very well. But yeah, ultimately just raw. And I think if there's, I'm intrigued by him developing a 3-point shot because there were glimpses of it. And so like when he's with the Crews, I would love to see him like experiment with that. But I also don't mind him like playing kind of the same role as Duren does, as like that just big rolling like lob threat. I don't think he has the on ball or the playmaking skill set that Duren has, but I like his archetype, but I think it was very clear after that first game, like just as raw as ever.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair to him, right? He's a blocks and rebounds guy. Like that's what he's going to do. He's big, he's long, he's a good hustle player. And I kind of thought he just looked a little deer in the headlights at some times in this first one, which he's a late second round pick in his first summer league game. I think that's more than excusable. So I'm intrigued to see how he can maybe adjust by like, it's called game 3, right? Like if he's looking still as a 4 rebounds, 4 stocks kind of player in game 3, and maybe you want to be a little bit worried about that. I'd say that's fair. For now, though, I mean, yeah, he went 1 for 3, but he's not going to shoot a lot. He also, to that point, only 20 minutes. I don't know. I think he just looked a little out of sorts there for a bit, and that's fine. It happens with these guys. Anyone else that stood out, good or bad, to you that you want to hit on before we get into questions?
Yeah, just real quick. Drake Allen, I really liked. From just a defensive standpoint, like he just really stood out on the perimeter. And I didn't know that, but he's on an Exhibit 10 deal with Detroit. I know it's at least something. Yeah. It's at least something. It's not a 2-way, but it's at least something. And just him on the perimeter, I thought he looked great. And then I know that some people like Gale as well. Michigan guy, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I feel it. See, that's where I'm like, it's hard to know. Do you guys like this guy because he's from Michigan or because he knocked down a couple threes? Like,
all right, Sparty.
I might be a little biased. Yeah.
It's maybe a little bit. Look, no, I'm with you. Actually, those were the two that I was thinking of as well. I thought Allen looked a little bit better. Honestly, I was impressed actually with his passing a little. I would hesitate to call him a playmaker by any stretch, but I thought he made some really solid, one more unselfish type of passes. The question is that because he's just not a good enough offensive player to be aggressive with the ball, to not want to make the one more pass, or is it a true, like he knew that was the right thing to do, he hit it one more perfect? But man, his defense was impressive. I think I liked what Van Gundy said on the broadcast. He basically said, look, I don't know if that guy is an NBA offensive player, but I can tell you he's an NBA defender right now just from this first game. And I would just second that. That was my takeaway from Drake Allen as well. Like he fits what this team wants to do in kind of a guard wing position. I don't know if that'll ever lead to something with the big club, but I think one game in, I'd love to keep him on the Crews.
Yeah, he got the camp invite, so let's see what he can do with it now.
All right. Well, we did have some other stuff going on this week. We did talk a little bit about Okori, but I want to bring this one up from Pistons Fan 11 in the live chat since we're just bringing up Summer League. Anything that you saw out of Okori that made you more excited than you were previously?
Yeah, so first off, I will lead with my scouting is just watching somebody's scouting breakdown on YouTube. So that was all that I had on him after they drafted him. And what I think excited me the most were his passing. Like his scoring was on full display. The shot creation was on full display. Him getting to the paint was as advertised, but I didn't feel like I knew how much of a like a pure point guard that he was. And when he's operating in the pick and roll and some of the reads that he made, that to me was most impressive of things that I just didn't see in the Stanford highlights that I would watch. But he's making passes that I think I hope like a backup point guard or any kind of point guard can make. And it was nice to see like him just making some impressive reads and impressive passes that I hoped he could have made. And the fact that I like finally got to see it, I would say his playmaking. I think he only had 4 assists, but it is what it is. Just, him finding the open man is really what I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I love the playmaking. For me, I'm most interested in Okori as a scorer. Like, I know that that's kind of a dying archetype, right? But the small guard who can just go get you a bucket, and any playmaking he can do is kind of gravy from my perspective. But to that question there from Pistons fan 11, like the ease at which he got to his spots as a 19-year-old in his first summer league game, playing his first 5-on-5 basketball since the college season ended, according to Ibuka Okori. The fact that he just kind of went anywhere he wanted to go. Yeah. I don't care about the point total. I don't care that he actually scored 20 and was pretty efficient from the floor. It's just the fact that he was able to go wherever the heck he wanted, whenever he wanted, and do whatever he wanted to do from there. That is really, really impressive out of a young guard like that. So that's what was standing out to me. Any final, do you want to add on anything here before we go on to just total non-summer league stuff?
Yeah. To your point too, as I'm thinking about it, like his ability to get to certain spots, to get into the middle of the defense, the more that he's doing that, the more that he grabs the attention of the defense, the more that the defense has to collapse in on him and worry about him and have concerns over him scoring, which then will just open up those playmaking opportunities if he's dragging, the help side defense in, and then somebody in that corner is open and he's, finding them as well. So his whole skill set, I'm just very excited about.
Yeah. And, look, to be fair, I do think both of us were pretty excited about the pick when it happened. So, we're naturally going to have a little bit more rosy of a perspective on it. We're not as critical of it because he's kind of the guy, at least I wanted at that spot when they traded up. So we'll see, right? It could always change.
Frankly, the way that the offseason has gone, he kind of has become the second creator in a way. Everybody's been looking for that second creator on the team. Well, they drafted him at this point. Yeah.
That's about it. It's him and Davis. But let's there's one truly outstanding, not outstanding as a good thing, but outstanding as in it hasn't happened yet. Element yet to occur. Element of this offseason. And that's Jalen Duren. So here's the question. This is from Jeffrey Mercer in the DBV comments. Will Duren take less than the maximum? And could you see him taking the qualifying offer? How long do you think this is all going to drag out? So with that, I want to throw a couple of numbers at you because I do think that all of this is important. And then I want to get your response. So Jalen Duren, this is per Keith Smith, when he made that All-NBA team, he is eligible for a 5-year, $287 million contract. The average annual value of that is about $57 million per season. Detroit is the only team that can give him that. Now, as far as rumors have gone, I have never seen Jalen Duren or his camp put out that he believes he is a super max player.
Right.
And that what I just outlined was the super max contract. So when we say
30%,
Supermax 30%. 30%. Okay. Yeah, I believe so. So what we've heard is he thinks he's a max player. The max contract is what anyone else can go give him. That would be a 4-year, $177 million contract. So that would be about $44 million in average annual value. And I really think that matters because that little split, like even in this question, could he see him taking less than the max? It's like, well, yes, but which max, right? He seems to think he's a $44 million player. The Pistons seem to disagree. I don't think anyone, though, thinks he's a $57 million player, including Jalen Duren in his own camp. So with all of that said, What do you think's going on here? Where is this all going to kind of level out?
Yeah, to start, no, I cannot see him take the qualifying offer. It's $9 million for next season. Even if we are offering him $35 million a year for the next 5 years, that's $175 million. I cannot see him turning down $175 million to take $9 million and then bank on staying healthy, on still performing at the level that he did. He has the opportunity for generational wealth, and I don't think that he's going to turn it down, even if it's, 5 for 175 or whatever it ends up being. So I do think he just ends up taking less than the max, because as far as we know, Detroit has never offered it. They've stuck to their guns they've got a price in their head, and they think he's worth what he's worth. And if another team could pay him more, they're like, okay, sure, go see if somebody else will increase your value, because I'm of the opinion that your value is what a team will pay you. Like you can want
the economist in me is very happy. Robbie.
Yeah,
I love that
sure.
so much. Yes.
Like your value can be whatever you think it is, but your value is whatever the number is on the piece of paper that you sign when you finally come back to Detroit. So you can think your value is what it is. And I don't think it's 5 for 2. I just hit my space bar. Am I still here?
You're still here. You're good.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I think he's taken less than the max. Here was my stab at making a projection. 4 for 177 is the most that he can get. My thing would be, hey, any team could pay you 177. We'll just round up. We'll pay you 180, but we'll do it over 5 years. So 5 for 35, I think, is 5 for 170. So I think I'm at 36 per year, 5 for 180. So I'm basically giving him the total amount of money that he can get on a max from a different team. I'm just going to extend it over 5 years instead of 4 years. That was kind of like my thinking the whole time. So that's, I think 5 for 180, 5 for 175, I think is probably where he ends up.
Yeah, I mean, when the offseason started, I was saying 5 for 200. I think that's out the window at this point. I mean, it's dragged on so far. Now, I don't necessarily know if that was ever on the table, right? It sounds like maybe the Pistons haven't offered that, but I'm with you. I mean, I feel like the 35 number at this point just seems reasonable and fair. And to, the qualifying offer portion of this, just to add some more color to what you brought up, because I'm with you. Like, I'd put the odds at 1%. I don't think he's taking the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Let's just say, so that qualifying offer, it's a tad under $10 million for next season. And let's just say the Pistons are offering that $35 million contract, which would mean that 35 per year, an average value. That would mean that the first season's actually probably somewhere around $30 million. So for next year, Jalen Duren would be leaving $20 million out on the table. Then he'd, on top of that, also be losing a total value of $130 million if you stretch that 35 per season out over 4 years. He'd be losing a total of $130 million of guaranteed money for a guy that's had lower body injuries and is maybe only a sprained ankle or a tweaked hammy away from just not having that deal at all. Like, I think, like, I get it when it's guards. I really do. Like, I get why Cam Thomas did what he did. It didn't work out for him.
Quentin Grimes.
But I get it for him. Yeah, Quentin Grimes, I get it for him. When you're 6'10", 270, and you play physical, take the guaranteed money, man. Don't leave that out there and test fate like that. I think there's no chance. So he'd be smart to take it, and I don't know when, but I think he will.
Let me ask you a question. So, like, let's say 5 for 175 was on the table before Duren explored trying to get a offer a sheet from somebody else. If you're Trajan, now that he really doesn't have suitors anywhere else, are you dropping that 5 for 175 of this is what was on it seems like a bad thing to do from a relationship building standpoint, but also, what if they drop it down to 5 150 and we're like, well, nobody else wants you. We offered 5 for it's from a negotiation standpoint. I get it. From a human standpoint, I feel like that would go terribly. But That idea has crossed my mind before too.
Yeah, I've thought about it too. I think I lean more to the second part. I think the relationship side of that's a bit more important. Like if you really, let's say you had 5 for 170 and now you're going to say, well, you've gotten no offers. We're going to drop it to 5 for 160. Like it's $10 million spread over 5 years. Like, I mean,
I was going to say, you're saving really $2 to $3 million per year at that point. Is it like, that really
exactly. And to Pistons fan point, I doubt that they punish him for going and seeing what he's worth. And as Michael says too, that's how you go take him to. Hey, that's how you convince him to take the Q up. So point. I think he just kind of, you've got your offer, it's out on the table. He said, I'm more than that, and you told him, all right, go prove it, right? Go find more, and if you do, we'll be happy to pay it. But don't now like yank it back off the table. Leave it on the table, and whenever he's ready to sign it, I think he goes ahead and he signs it. So, again, Richard, I don't think you want to do that to a guy you want to keep as a core piece. Agreed. Yeah.
I get
it's
that.
It's a good idea.
Sure.
That's more of like the business room thing, Like if you're negotiating a real estate transaction, 100%.
Yeah.
Players, though, I don't know. I don't know about that.
When you're buying property and not, trying to get your all NBA center locked up for the next 5 years. So here's another thing that I thought of throughout the just free agency in general. And I'm looking at the chat's comments, so I want to bring this up as well because this kind of all ties together. But this, as we're live, Wemby decided to take the 25% max instead of the 30% max. And so like I'm looking at that like, Duran, you're not getting paid more than Wemby. You're not worth more than Wemby. And if Wemby's willing to take this, like it's just hard. I think so. On top of what I'm trying to say is Isaiah Hartenstein, $25 million. Mitchell Robinson got $15 million. I'm trying to think of other centers that got paid this summer, but centers are not expensive players. They're needed players, but like, unless you're a offensive hub or like this defensive stone wall at the rim, you're not making big money. And every single center contract that came out this summer did not favor Duran's perspective, did not favor Duran's side of like, hey, I deserve this kind of cash. And frankly, it's like everything has been lower than I expected it to be. And now that Wemby, I think is just like one of one. He's from a human standpoint, from whatever, like just his perspective on things at his age, moving to America and just his maturity. I think he's really one of one. But the fact that even he's like, I'll take 25%. Like, sure, I'm worth your entire payroll, San Antonio, but I will, 25% will do. It's just like, it's another center in the league that is not getting paid what I guess people would expect him to get paid. So I find the whole center market fascinating.
It is. And so the chat's brought up Jalen Brunson, who did a very similar thing.
He
did. But at that same token, I mean, for every Jalen Brunson, there's also the Trae Youngs, right? It's very much it's very much a personal preference for guy. I won't blame any of the players for saying, I'm going to go maximize what I can get. I also don't, I'd like to think that if I were in the position, I'd do what Wemby's doing. I'd do what Brunson did and take a little bit less to get a better shot at winning it. But the other side of that is, well, then the team's got to go justify it, right?
Yeah,
like the Knicks didn't have to go win it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't looking good actually when the season started for the vibes there in New York. And congrats to those guys, obviously, right? Like they won it and they played great. They had a heck of a run in the postseason, but that was not guaranteed, is my point. So if you're a star player and you're saying, well, I'm turning down millions of dollars now in this case, because that's a pretty big change for Wemby. I'm turning down millions of dollars, and now my team doesn't back it up because I didn't have the front office and coaching staff and players around me. Like now I'm really pissed.
Right.
I think there's a flip side to that as well.
You took $50 million of my pay cut and gave it to John Lure for 4 years. What is that? Yeah,
exactly. And I think Damian Lillard kind of went down a similar path too. I don't think he really maximized his early contracts, if memory serves. he wanted to be a lifelong Blazer. Then, look what happened. I mean, I know he's back now, but that got messy there for a second because they just weren't good enough. So, yeah, I mean, like it's what it is. It'll be wild though if Duren's earning about the same as Wembanyama at one point here. That's going to be something. Yeah. And I want to shout this out. Mimsy313, look at the doggy.
It's all coming.
Yeah. So, my pupper's in here, but you guys, you haven't noticed Robbie's pupper back there has been just sleeping and hanging out this whole time.
Back here. Yeah. I can hear him snoring through my headphones.
You gotta have your alerts on here. All right. So these are some good ones here. I want to do these two kind of as one, just kind of looking more holistically right at the offseason. So we got Jacob Ball here. Basically, are the Pistons done? Do you think they're going to make any more big moves? We did also get that as a live question. Dan Kaminsky, are they done making moves? Could there be another big one left? And then on that note, we've got this from Gil Medina on Twitter. Shout out to Gil. He said, I didn't think that last offseason moves would lead to 60 wins, so it's easy to overreact in July, but they could lose 10 more games, still win 50. So he doesn't think they got worse. Is that really so bad? All this is to say, Robbie, are they done? And if they are, is that a bad thing?
So before I answer that, I'm curious what you think. I think if they win 50 games next season, I think that's a good season. I think he does kind of blend in. Yeah. Wes, what is your, like, if they win 50 games, do you think that's a successful season? I think if they win 50 and host a playoff series again, good season, even if they won 10 less games or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to say that 50 wins in any season's a bad outcome.
Yes,
and totally blank.
Funny comparing it to we lost 10 less games, but still won 50. Yeah. I'm of the opinion that they are done. I think they probably waive Gary Harris or Chaz Lanier once they sign Duren, since they're at 15 currently, and Duren is not technically on the roster, so they do have to waive one guy when they bring Duren back. I think they're done, but what I will say is I think this roster is now set up for a move in February. They have plenty of depth at guard position. You have plenty of contracts that should be movable. Duncan on the non-guaranteed. I'm excited about John Collins and hope that he has a good year and is in for Detroit for more than 1 year, but you don't create a kind of contract like that if you don't want to move him in the future or use his salary as a tool. So they have some non-guaranteed deals. Isaiah Joe is a team option next year. Ron Holland is a team option next year. So they still have a ton of flexibility, but they're like right now, if I were to make a 10-man rotation, I think Kevin Huerter is out of it. I think Javonte Green is out of it. And I think Taurean Prince is out of it. And I think all three of those guys could see playing time. Like I could see them playing. And so I'm wondering if there's some type of like, hey, we tried, right? Like Kyrie, they didn't want to give up Kyrie. Kawhi didn't want to come here. Trey Murphy is worth 1,000 first. We can't trade for Trey Murphy. So they're trying. And I think after all of this, like, I think they're just kind of punting to February. And so I think people are frustrated that they still haven't found Cade's number 2. The biggest, I think, compliment that I can give Trajan for his offseason is like, there is no question he found shooting. Right. It was like, I remember the joke at the Isaiah Joe trade, like, oh, this means they're moving Duncan. And it's like, hey, we're allowed to have more than one shooter on the team. And it's, 40% Isaiah Joe, 40% Duncan is still here. John Collins, 40%, Taurean Prince, 40%. So they have a ton of shooting, which I think will help the spacing. But I also think they're riding out Asar and Duren as like both of them carrying the secondary playmaker role, I think. So which now that there's a bunch of shooting around them, I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea of it. I think it's not super sexy to everyone who wanted a big deal, who wanted Trey Murphy to come in, who wanted the Shams notification to hit on their phone of 3 first-round picks for Trey Murphy. And so I'm happy Trajan, like, it seemed like he did his due diligence. Like, I feel like they were in every report. But if the season was going to start without a number 2, I would want to start the way that the roster looks now. Your same core guys surrounded with a bunch of shooting, and give Duren, give Asar more playmaking opportunities, see what they can do. And it's nice that we can kind of go about the regular season this point as like we're preparing for the playoffs. Right? Like, we know we're good enough to make it into the playoffs now. So, hey, we can afford these first 40 to 50 games. Let's let Asar handle the ball a little bit more. Let's give the ball to Duren at the high post and see what he can do. And then maybe after February is when you make your big move and you start, really putting your head down towards how you want to look for the playoffs. But I'm the more I think about this offseason, the more I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think they're definitely setting up for maybe a move in February. And I mean, if you're just kind of looking holistically right at the offense, they're a little bit worse defensively. They're quite a bit better shooting. And I think they're probably I want to say slightly better in the ball handling front. But when you're losing Tobias Harris and you're figuring you're going to replace some of that with a rookie guard, you're hoping that really treads water, even though I am admittedly pretty high on what I think a Corey could do. So, like Mimsy 3-1-3 brings in, maybe you start Danis. Like, I could see it. I've suggested that in the past as well. I mean, it remains to be seen kind of where the rest of this offseason is going to shake out. Obviously, you never know, right? Things can happen. But, yeah, like John Collins isn't a guy you're going to give the ball to and say, go make something happen. Asar struggled with that. Duren can do it, but it's usually, it's more like mid-post stuff. So maybe you just want someone else to bring the ball up and take a little pressure off Cade. I could see Danis doing that. But yeah, I mean, they're not a bad team. Like, I think that's kind of what's getting lost here is this is still a really good team. This is still the core of a team that won 60 games last year, took the Cavs to 7, and I mean, they threw up a stinker, but they had the Cavs on the ropes there through 5 games at one point. Like, I think that as much as we want the big move, and I'll admit, like, I went into the offseason not really wanting the big move and got talked into it. So I was very much rooting for, hey, maybe a Tyler Hero. You mentioned a Trey Murphy, maybe something like that. I was rooting for it. I was. But when you stand back and you look at it, I still think that this is a really talented team. On that note, though, we've got a couple of voicemail questions here that I want to make sure we get to. So this first one is from Alex from Las Vegas. And unfortunately, neither Robbie, Blake, nor I are out there, but I hope he's enjoying Summer League. So here's what Alex had to say.
Hey, Wes and Blake. First off, just want to say I love the podcast. Been a long-time listener. Just want to appreciate you guys for the content that you guys put out. Also, Wes, for being such a hard worker. I really appreciate the Pistons Pulse as well. I think you do very well with that. I have a few questions, but first question is, do you have any hot takes as far as things that may be happening between now and, let's say, the trade deadline? 2 would be, what are your thoughts on this current recent trade that we just got? And lastly, what are your guys' thoughts on the best type of way to build? Do you think, is there an ideal way to build through the draft or build through free agency only or a combination of both, like Troy Weaver did with, 4 picks in 1 year? Do you think you should front load a bunch of rookie contracts that grow into each other? What are your thoughts on that? Thank you very much. And again, this is Alex from Las Vegas. If you guys are coming through Summer League, hit me up. Holla.
All right. So we had 3 questions in there. One of them, actually, we also kind of got in the live chat asking for conspiracies. So, hot takes, conspiracies, those can all be looped into one. I just want to open it up by saying I do hardly anything for the Pistons ball. So Bryson and Amari just kind of run that. I'm in the background doing the outlines. It's no big deal, but I appreciate the shout out anyway. So Robbie, I don't know. You said they're loading up for something at the deadline. Could there be something spicy there? What are any hot takes for that? And then we can keep going through the list there.
First off, Alex from Las Vegas seems like the kindest soul in the whole wide world, and I would love to be friends with you, Alex. Unfortunately, I live in Tennessee, so you're a little far away, but that was one of the kindest messages I've ever heard. hot take, which I know this is just so different than your opinion. My hot take is Dennis starts the season as PG3 and Isaiah Joe and Duncan Robinson.
Love it. That's awesome. I love it.
Manage the shooting guard position. I think Corey wins the backup point guard role, and I think Dennis gets moved to PG3.
All right, I'll give a hot take. Let's get the hype train going. I think that by the trade deadline, it's entirely possible Corey's starting at the 2. No, I wouldn't say that's a likely outcome to walk back my hot take immediately, but he can do something that no one else on this team can right now. And if they don't make a big addition at the deadline or before, they very much need someone next to Cade that can just go create an advantage. And as much as I love Danis Jenkins, he either needs the defense to already be pre-rotated, playing off of a second action, or to be getting a handoff or a pick and roll. That is not something that Okori needs. At least it doesn't look like it at Stanford. So if you can make that translate and you're just going to say, hey, we need someone that can go out there and create a 5-on-4 in the half court, which they desperately needed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You might turn to the rookie. What about the other questions here? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, to your point, I'm intrigued. I guess this is kind of the Killian and Cade thing that we saw a couple years ago of like Cade playing next to a pure point guard. The idea of Cade being like this go-to off-ball scorer is very appealing to me as well. That was for your take. That comment was for your take.
Yes, it was. That's why I put it on.
Okay. What was the other question that he asked? What was, we had hot takes. We had a trade thing.
All right. So we had hot takes between now and the trade deadline. We had the best, thoughts on the recent trade. So we should talk about that. The massive team trade.
Oh,
well, all of it, I guess. Right. I mean, it was huge, but yeah. And then after that, like quick thoughts on if you want to front load draft picks during a rebuild.
Yeah. The trading to me just kind of seemed like trying to balance the roster a little bit more, dumping Karras, dumping Sasser with all of the guards that you have. I still feel like the roster has a little bit of imbalance because at this point, I think Ron is playing the backup 4, which my first thought is like, I don't want him playing that, but I think I'm coming around to that more because if I think Taurean Prince is a 4 who is 2 inches shorter than Ron, and if I think Javonte, well, I don't think Javante's a 4, but he has played some 4. He guarded Paolo in the playoffs, and he's like 6'4". So if those two guys can be considered a 4, Ron can be considered a 4. And from a team building standpoint, I would say just do the opposite of whatever Troy Weaver does. But in all reality, any day, in all reality, I think you have to build through the draft because we're seeing it with Jalen Duren right now in restricted free agency. Teams have so much control over players that you draft. And so being able to basically guarantee yourself 9 years of work with the guy that you draft is such a huge advantage for teams. So I think it's all about swinging as hard as you can and hoping that you land a star guy and then you ink him for 4 years on his rookie deal, 5 years on his next deal and keep it going from there.
Yeah, I'd second all of that. We did somewhat related, with that trade question, Pistons fan 11 saying, I didn't like that they lost both Stu and Harris, and Collins is really the only true power forward. So, how are you going to guard Giannis, Banchero, all those guys? To your point, I mean, Collins is a pretty big dude. He's not a great defender, but he's got a little weak side shot blocker in him. I think, though, honestly, with I wouldn't be too worried about him guarding Paolo. I think I'd like to have him on, if it's the Heat, you're kind of choosing between him or Duren on Giannis. I think I'd rather have Collins on Giannis than Duren just to avoid the foul trouble.
And I don't think anybody's guarding Giannis anyway,
Exactly.
Can guard Giannis. But Harris and Collins, to me, they're similar builds, similar heights, both like strong, thick dudes. I still have concerns about backup power forward. Just like I feel like Ron is more of a wing than a forward, but I'm willing, like if they tried to find things and you're stuck with Ron playing backup 4 for the first 50 games, whatever, we can run with that. And frankly, I'm happy that he's on the team still. I kind of thought he was going to get traded. So the fact that he's still on the team and has a spot in the rotation after not playing in the playoffs, it's like, all right, at least Ron to me is in a decent spot.
For sure. This is kind of with the defense thing. This is kind of a deep cut, but I can remember chatting with Bryce way back when about Mason Plumlee. And going through like, man, he's such a terrible big man defender. And then we were like, okay, yeah, that's very true. But how many bigs are you really concerned about him guarding? Because at the time you look at like Joel Embiid, no one's guarding Joel Embiid. Yeah. It's the same thing with Giannis. Like you can't stop that guy.
You just slow him down. That's all.
Yeah, you just want someone to get in the way. So I mean, like I think we worked it out. It's like for 24 out of the 30 teams, you could probably be fine. Like it won't be great, but it's not the backbreaker effect. Right. I think that's kind of where it might be with John Collins. It's like, yeah, he's not going to be a great defender. But to be fair, Harris was not a very good defender for this team either. And Collins is at least a little bit more bouncy. So maybe he can give you some of that. So I'm not as worried about it, but I get it. I do.
I'm not going to act like I'm some post defense expert of what John Collins brings in post defense, but I feel like John is a better like weak side rim protector than Tobias. And I think I would say Tobias is maybe a little bit better of a post defender than Collins is. This is just going off of vibes basically. But I actually want to tell you, so I was on Order of the Blazing Horse last night and I brought up our conversation about Ron, how me and you differ, how we view this ball of clay. And so I proposed the question to them. And I said, okay, do you think Ron is stronger than he is quick, or do you think he's quicker than he is strong? And Harry agreed with you, and Mickey agreed with me. And I'm like, okay, this got us nowhere. But it's just like it doubles down on the point that like what is Ron right now? Where is he best suited? You're still figuring it out, I guess. And frankly, I'm just turned 21. He's got this whole world in front of him, so he'll figure it out.
Yeah. So for everyone, Robbie and I have been talking for a little bit about Ron as the backup 4, and it's kind of he's more skeptical. I'm more open to it. I think neither of us are super excited about it, but my point was with Ron, I prefer him guarding up than down because I think he's a little stronger and plays more physical. And sometimes quicker guards, like, notably a Jalen Brunson, you can give him some trouble. Whereas Robbie thinks he's a little bit more laterally quick, can get overpowered, which he has. So, it's the fun thing about balls of clay. They look very different to different people. Let's get another voicemail question in here. This is from our guy, a fella in the DBB comments.
Hey. This is a fella from the BDB comments, the same guy who left that other voicemail that was unnamed. Question: what are the odds that the Pistons, if they make no other big moves, just right here, right now, become the pre-2019, like the pre-Kawhi Raptors? A really good team that gelled together, enjoyed each other, but always got hit with a buzzsaw in LeBron or insert star here when it came to the playoffs. Do you think that could happen to us if we don't do anything? Or, are we just worried over nothing? Let me know. Can't wait to hear from you.
All right, Nafella, this is for you. I just want you to know that I titled the media file for this voicemail the LeBronto Pistons. But Robbie, I got a follow-up question. I obviously want to hear, do you think that the Pistons are at risk of something like this? But then 2, similar to our guy Gil Medina there in the question we talked about before, would it be really that bad to be the pre-Kawhi Toronto Raptors, kind of one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference they had a good 3 to 4 year run there?
Yeah. Oh no, we made the second and third round of the playoffs every year. Oh, it's so tough. Also,
Yeah.
I love that a fella claimed his previous voicemail message from with no name on it. He was like, "Oh yeah, that was that was me." So I feel like we are. I guess I need more of a sample size with this Pistons team to kind of get a couple consecutive playoff years in a row to see where they land. But like this team, it's kind of fascinating to where like you could argue that they were one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. You could also argue like this team down 3-1 and Franz goes out, maybe they wouldn't even have gotten out of the first round. So it's just kind of like a fascinating spectrum of how you can analyze their playoff experience. To his example, I don't think there's a LeBron right now that is haunting us over and over again. Maybe I do like that the Knicks are kind of becoming a rivalry, so maybe we've got some Knicks action in our future. But I think what's most exciting for me about the pre-Kawhi comparison is eventually you get to the Kawhi Toronto Raptors where they finally went all in and made that move. And I guess I'm kind of hoping that, maybe our Kawhi move is in February of Landon, that guy that takes us over the top and gets us in there. But I also think maybe they ride this roster out a little bit more with their young guys, but it is a great comparison.
The one thing that I would want to add to this so two things. One, of course, I would say that they're certainly at risk of this kind of becoming a reality, right? I mean, like the Atlanta Hawks were a great team for a little bit there too. They had a couple
Paul
years near the top of the East. Yeah, they did. They were really good, and they could just never really get over that hump. Like, there are plenty of teams. You could go, shoot, the Pistons, after they won it in 2004, every year after that, they were one of these teams. They were really good, gelled together well, great time to watch, just could never really get over the hump and get another one, right? So, like, I don't think there's any shame necessarily in being that type of team in the first place. But if you want a little bit more of a positive spin, that Raptors team didn't have a Cade Cunningham. Like we can say that flat out. DeMar DeRozan was a great player. He was a very good scorer. Kyle Lowry was a very good point guard. He was fun. Jonas Valanciunas, very good big man. But the Pistons have a player that's in that, gets involved in MVP conversations, all NBA first team. Like, that's what Kawhi became for the Raptors. The Pistons have that guy already. And what they're looking for now is, well, who can be the true, like, number two scorer, maybe a second or third all-star, all-NBA caliber player. That's a little bit of a different question to me, because I think you go back through history, right? Not a lot of those teams that were that close but just really couldn't get over the top. Most of them, they look more like, well, the Raptors did. Collection of very good players, but no one really at that all-NBA first team level. The Pistons have that guy. And so I think that levels up their ceiling just a little bit. So if you want to be a little bit more positive, that would be my spin on it.
I think you could argue that they had to go get their Cade Cunningham, where we have our Cade Cunningham already, and we're kind of missing our DeMar DeRozan instead. As opposed
you could get him.
You technically could. I don't want to go down that route. Count me out now, maybe 10 years ago. But that's a great point of they were looking for their Cade Cunningham to lead them. We already have ours.
All right, Robbie, I want to end on this one. Okay, this is a great question here from MC313, and I do apologize to Pistons fan 11 who asked a very good question here about Ron Holland and Taurean Prince as kind of the backup 4 minutes. I think we can. Well, no, I'm not able to save comments between. So ask it again next show, please. I'd love to talk about that one. We're just running low on time. Chuck Wagon also asked in the DBB comments about player turning down a qualifying offer with this much money on the table. I can say the answer is no. I think we're in kind of unique territory with they're in, but I don't have the numbers to back it up because he just asked this morning, and I didn't have time to do the background research. So we'll go ahead and we can look at that over the next week too. But here it is. So this is Mimpsy 313. Robbie, anything that you really want to see out of the Pistons over the next few Summer League games before we come back and record again?
What a fascinating question. More. Okay, I'm just going to make this up on the spot. I'm going to give one for a few of the players that we talked about. Corey, more playmaking. Not that his playmaking was bad, but I just want like more of a sample size. Ooh, that was a nice pass. Ooh, that was a nice read. I want to see more and more and more of that. Chaz, shoot 10 threes. Hopefully you make 4 or 5 of them, but be more aggressive, be a movement shooter, bring the gravity that your shooting can bring and open up spaces on the court. So Chaz, shoot more. On Yenso, just look more comfortable, I would say. Just look like you're, a little more confident out there. Just not so kind of lost, I would say. Maybe catch a lob. That would be cool. He almost caught one last game. Maybe he'll catch a lob here. Do I want to give one to anybody else? I think if I had to pick out of the main 3 guys, is Elijah Harkless? He's not. I know that he just signed for a 2-way, but I don't think he's eligible to play with them. I don't know. Like, will he play in these next few games? I haven't seen anything. I'm not totally sure.
I'm struggling to think of any examples of a late Summer League roster addition that wasn't a draft night trade that just like couldn't be made official.
Yeah, and I also don't know how
I'm gonna
old
guess
he
no.
is. Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. Then I'm gonna go.
Well, it's not really age; it's years of NBA service, which is
okay.
Why I think Andre Ingram 1 year way back was like a 30-something in the Summer League.
Yeah.
It happens,
all right, my last one is going to be for Drake Allen, and it's going to be play more great defense and hit a couple threes. Be a little 3-and-D guy out there.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, I'd love that one. I think the only, I'm going through like the list. I'd want to give one to Isaac Jones, and I'll give the same exact one to Corey. Theirs is the same for me because I think there are 2 Summer League games before we're back on the Pindown recording again. And I would say for Jones and for Corey, make it abundantly clear, basically by just playing the way that you did. By the time we reach the second half of game 3, you're not playing anymore. They are comfortable shutting you down. Because that's not always the case with rookies. Even first-round pick rookies, sometimes you see them get all the way into game 4. I know Ron Holland did. I think even thinking back to Marcus Sasser, he played all 4 games. He had a really good 4th game back in his rookie year. So don't be that, right? Corey Jones showed definitively by just basically doing the exact same thing you did in this first game. Do it for 1.5 more games. Have JB pull the plug. I think that's what I would love to see that out of those 2. I think I'd be pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Show that you're too good to be on a Summer League court, I think is ultimately all you could hope for out of your rookie draft pick.
Exactly. And then, if you're Isaac Jones from there, it's up to you and practices and some of probably preseason stuff to make that next leap, right? That Jenkins did where it's, hey, I'm too good for this realm. I'm also way too good for not really having a nightly role, even if it's just an injury relief, take advantage of the opportunity. But I think he could set himself up well, and if I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but isn't it kind of great that after years of just 2nd-round pick whiffs, no one really notable in the undrafted market, in 2 years in a row, we're having this conversation about a guy Langdon brought in kind of off the scrap heap.
And he did it in New Orleans. He did it in New Orleans. He's doing it here, and it's like, golly, this guy's eye for talent, man. It's just like it's a cheat code to team building. If you can find, I know we differ on where Dennis, just find a rotational player of a guy that you can pay $4 million to because it's his first standard NBA deal ever. And then, granted for Dennis, he was playing. Starting in the playoffs, and he started the year on a 2-way. So it's a cheat code in roster building to have guys like that.
Yeah. And finally it's in Detroit now, right? Instead of I mean, this goes back to Joe Dumars. I'll just be totally honest with you. So this is a nice change. I'm very happy about it. But I think we got to end it there. So, Robbie, just like last week, tell everyone where they can find your work. And, of course, if you've got any more breakdowns or anything else on the way.
Yeah, I want to do more breakdowns, little film breakdowns after the Summer League game. So I plan on doing that after the next 3. You can go to DetroitBadBoys.com and take a look at that first one. Hoping to get some more playmaking clips in the future ones. But yeah, check out all the content on DetroitBadBoys.com, and then you can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at BobbyBuckets313.
All right. So, as always, guys, and I'm probably going to bumble through this again, but hey, this is my second week in a row doing it. So, hopefully, I'm a little bit better than last week. But make sure you are liking. Of course, as I said that, I get a cough coming. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. It does really help us out. Of course, we've got our voicemail. You guys heard 2 people taking advantage of that. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to a fella. But the number for that, 313-355-2717. We love that. We're a big fan of hearing your guys' perspective. So that's always fun. As well, special thank you to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. Shout out to you guys for the great questions and talking points this evening. We'll catch you next week, whether that's on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you.